Kal-El is on the hunt for the Peacemaker, but will his red-hot rage get the better of the Man of Steel? Well, let's hop to the pages of Absolute Superman issue number 5 and find out together, shall we? So then, as we join the book, we are once again treated to the final days of Krypton. Kal and his family had blown the whistle on the Science Council's corruption, how they had lied about the terrible ecological state the planet was in while also secretly working to evacuate the richest and most powerful members of Kryptonian society. Understandably, after that, all hell broke loose. Riots, clashes with the law, guild, and mass public executions. Truly, the planet exploded long before it actually blew up. And in the middle of it all, we still have Lara and Jor-El. They probably could have left before, but they decided to stay behind to try and evacuate as many of their friends and neighbors as possible, with the use of their own painstakingly maintained craft. I gotta say, I really like this extra characterization that Superman's parents are given here. Their hearts are so big. And the pain of even leaving just one person who they even only kind of knew in passing is too much for them to handle. Now, back in the present, Superman is on the warpath attempting to hunt down Christopher Smith, the Peacemaker, who executed those 23 civilians at the end of the previous issue. What earned those poor people a death sentence? Well, they committed the unforgivable crime of laughing at a jackbooted thug with a gun. Superman tears through the other Peacemakers but can't seem to find Christopher Smith, almost as if someone or something is actively trying to hide him. Superman is overflowing with rage. It's understandable, though it's getting to be a point now where he's starting to be afraid of himself and what he could potentially do. It's around this point, too, Sol makes reference to Brainiac. Apparently that is the something that's been hiding Christopher Smith. Brainiac wants to actually speak with Superman, but Kal refuses the conference call, and in the end that's probably the best choice. Now back on Krypton, the day finally comes for everyone to try and escape. Kal stays behind, hoping to try and gather a small keepsake of his birth home before it all ends up getting completely wiped away. Unfortunately, it's at that very moment the planet begins to go nuclear with massive kryptonite explosions, rocking the entire planet. In fact, there's a good chance Kal-El probably would have met his end that day were it not for the quick thinking of Krypto the Superdog, who was able to pull him away from the precipice, again proving that Krypto is a very, very good dog. Now, as the L's ready their own spacecraft over in Kandor, we see the Science Guild's ships also begin to take flight, only none of them actually manage to break orbit, as in a bit of grim irony, they all end up getting destroyed by the kryptonite explosions as well. Yes, it would seem that after all their lying, cheating, and machinations, none of it actually made any difference, as Krypton's elite suffered the same fate as the rest of the planet. But what about the L's craft? Well, it did actually manage to make it up into the air, but unfortunately it too ended up getting absolutely torn asunder, as the planet around them went positively nuclear. Thankfully, this is where the Sol system once again really ended up coming in clutch. The suit that was itself part of the living ship was able to protect Kal-El, and in a very tragic moment, he bids a teary farewell to his parents before they end up getting separated. In his internal monologue, Kal-El talks about how the destruction of Krypton should always stand as a monument to the fact that no matter how great you think your society is, how smart you are, how technologically advanced, in the end, life itself is so incredibly fragile, and there's simply no telling what day might very well end up being your last. Now, back in the present and back on Earth, Kal-El decides to call off his hunt for Peacemaker. No, not because he fears Brainiac, though Sol says he really should fear what Brainiac is capable of. No, Kal says the real problem is he fears what he might do if he gets his hands on Christopher Smith. Again, everything that's been going on with the Lazarus Corporation has been pushing him further and further, and he doesn't like what he's becoming. It's for all these reasons and more, Superman says that he needs to try and find some perspective. He needs to go back home again. It's on that note right there, as the comic comes to a close, we see Superman return to Smallville. And so that was Absolute Superman issue number 5, everybody. Another super fast-paced, fun, enjoyable little Superman story. Again, Jason Aaron's big new addition to the Superman mythos this time around is to actually have him be old enough to remember his parents and remember the destruction of his world, so much to the point it ends up coloring everything he does. The big question moving forward, though, is that if Superman did come to Earth as an older child, what is his actual relationship to Smallville and the Kents, if any at all? I mean, clearly it looks like Smallville is another town that ended up getting destroyed by the Lazarus Corporation. And perhaps that's the thing that ended up pushing Superman to try and become a hero, to fight for the downtrodden all over the world who are also suffering under the effect of Lazarus's corrupt and destructive business practices. Overall, I think I'd feel comfortable giving this one an 8 out of 10. Maybe not my favorite issue I've read so far in this series, but I'm definitely interested to see what happens next. Hey there everyone, it's your pal Cape Joel again, and if you're seeing my face right now, that means you watched to the end of the video, and I'll always be grateful for that. Retention helps in this crazy YouTube game, and so does becoming a patron. If you head on down to the description, you can find a link to my Patreon page. Recently just redid all the tiers, a lot of cool stuff offering up there, exclusive commentaries, exclusive polls, behind the scenes concept art for Capes and Quests. That's the brand new D&D show I've started soon. Never been a better time to become a patron. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month and help the channel grow and, help me continue to deliver content like what you just saw. So I want to thank you all, and I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.